Great. To begin the interview, to begin with the beginning, I wanted to ask you how it all started. How did you get into art? How did it get art to you? Was there an epiphany?
You mean this is a very long time ago? Do you mean
Yeah.
like really as a kid?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, I think it's because I had a very quiet background, and there wasn't much to do being raised on a farm, so I was very good at sketching. So that was my savior. Art was my savior. Otherwise, I would have really gotten into a lot of drugs and probably not finished school and all that. But I just started understanding how to draw and how to look, and that totally satisfied me and intrigued me. So then I just continued after that, kept on going and going until something would start boring me, and then I'd get into another field, and then something would start boring me. I got into printmaking for a long time because there are so many different facets to that to be able to learn. But then that also started to not intrigue me anymore. And then I discovered working with audio.
And when was this epiphany? When was the audio epiphany?
Well, I think it was mid-1980s. George was in a school where they had a good audio recording facilities and mixing room and things like that. So I started going in with him and experimenting. And then I got much more interest in that, and I started adding that to my flat-based works, and then started dropping out all the visuals and finding that it seemed to express how I felt about space and time and memory, and it just seemed to, it's like a first language, it just seemed to feel really good.
And where would you say were your heroes, or who were your heroes, who were your inspirations?
I think I was at different points. I was much more interested in different things. You know, going through university, I had pretty regular heroes. You know, like Matisse and the cutouts, and fairly traditional. And then later on, thinking about some of the 60s and 70s feminist artists, like Linda Montano, and some of the experiments they did. I thought that was quite inspiring. And writers. Jorge Luis Borges is still one of my favorites, and writers who investigate concept and time and playing with the whole flexibility of time and space, I think are very interesting, as well as being able to have kind of a fun story.
And where would you say does your catalogue raisonné start? When did you do for the first time a work where you felt this is, you know, no longer student work, this is your first mature work which you would put in the catalogue raisonné?
I think that around 1990, I started doing work that I was finally satisfied with. And that was basically when I really started working with audio.
Which piece? Can you tell me which piece it is?
Well, I think there was one called The Whispering Room, and that was 1991. And it was actually a precursor to the 40-part motet, because it was 16 bare speakers situated around the room. And out of each speaker comes a female voice. There's 3 characters, and so sometimes you have them talking to each other from one speaker to another. And there is a film loop, but otherwise there's a film loop of a little girl tap dancing in the forest, and otherwise it's just all audio. And so it's very much about, I think it was my first experiment with unraveling the concept of the piece by the movement of the spectator or the listener. And the technology was really, really basic back then, but since then George and I have really pushed that to the limit.